We're here for another extra tech news with Caley Fretz from Velonews. Caley, when we spoke last, it was down in southern Italy. We were on flat roads. We were talking aerodynamic road bikes and aerodynamic TT bikes. Now here we are in the mountains. What are the changes that people have made to their bikes for this?
Well, a team like Blanco sitting behind us, they're going to be on a completely different frame. They're moving from the Aero Propel to their TCR. There are also going to be changes in gearing, changes in wheels and tires. It's basically to move weight away from rotating points and into elsewhere on the frame. They're going to look for a little bit more stiffness and to hit that 6.8 kilo UCI weight limit as close as possible.
Because it's actually quite hard for a team to get to the 6.8 kilo. A lot of the bikes, tend to be about 7.2, 7.3. So how much weight are they saving, do you think, on a climbing frame like a TCR to a Propel?
The frame itself is probably going to be a couple hundred grams. It depends on the manufacturer. How close those two are going to be. The big thing is ride quality. A lot of the guys are going to go for the wider, stiffer frames for the mountain stages where the aerodynamics isn't as important.
We spoke last time at length about 25mm tyres because teams were adopting this for aerodynamic advantages, but now we're in the mountains, as you've said, aerodynamics aren't the issue. Do you think teams are going to be back on 23s?
Yeah. So the 25s was a result of Shimano's recommendation. Their C50 rim is a wide rim. It works quite well aerodynamically with a 25 tire. There's not a whole lot of aerodynamic downside to running a bigger tire, so they might as well run the bigger one on the flat stages. Slightly lower rolling resistance, more comfort. In the mountains, they're looking for low weight. They're trying to decrease weight, particularly at the outer edge of those wheels, decrease inertia. They're going to run 23s. They're a little bit lighter. They're running a narrower rim. For example, the Blanco guys, they're running Shimano C35s or even C24s, which is a quite narrow rim. It matches up better with a 23mm tire.
In terms of weight savings then, for a 23 over a 25, we're looking at what, so 30, 40 grams per tire?
Yeah, it's going to depend on the tire, but that's usually a pretty good guess.
A pretty marginal gain there.
Very marginal gain. I mean, a lot of this stuff is marginal gains, though. But they do everything that they can. If you add up stuff like that over the course of the entire Telegraph and the entire Galibier, it's not so marginal anymore.
Can we talk about clothing now as well? The riders have been battered with horrific weather, and there's this trend obviously for unmarked Castelli Gabba jerseys. What do you think the changes there between non-waterproof shells?
Yeah, I mean it's a visual difference even from a couple years ago when guys would pull out the rain capes, those old school rubber, plastic, and they were horrible. You've I'm sure used them. I've used them. They were terrible. You're a sweat box inside that thing. But in the last about year or so, Castelli came out with the Gabba. There's a couple other manufacturers that have sort of jumped on that train as well. It's a Gore product, so any manufacturer can make sort of their own version. Vermark is making one, and there's a couple here that say prototype on the back that I can't really tell if they're just a rebadged Castelli or if they're actually something new. It's a massive improvement for the riders because it's a much more versatile piece of clothing. It allows much more breathability. It's going to still keep the rain out. It's much more aerodynamic. Castelli was saying that the difference between a sort of traditional rain cape and their Gabba jersey is something on the order of like 15% in drag difference between those two items. So
something that was occurring to me though, cyclists, pro bike racers have been contending with terrible weather for decades and decades, and the clothing's been getting better and better, but we still see stages that cancelled or amended due to poor weather, and we still see riders getting to the finish and being in pieces because they're so cold. Given the improvements in technology, why are we not seeing guys able to cope with the weather? Have they just got softer?
Maybe. Don't say that too loud right here. No, I think cold is cold, and there was certainly if you look at Hamston on the Gavia and or Stelvio back in the day, wool clothes and short finger gloves and all that stuff. I mean, that was probably downright dangerous. I think these guys now, with the stuff they have available to them, much safer. At the end of the day, though, they're still on road bikes. They're still on 23 or 25mm tires. You can't make them ride in the snow too much. They'll just crash. I mean, there's just, regardless of how much clothing they have available to them, the other thing is that they're not going to wear all of it. So the start of the stage on Sunday, right before the rest day, a lot of guys were bundled up at the start. They're wearing everything they have. They're wearing their Gabba jersey and their long tights and big gloves and all that stuff. By halfway through the stage, they've ditched all that stuff. It's in the car, and then they hit the Galibier, and it starts getting real cold up there. But all the stuff's back in the car. They can't get their gear back, and so sometimes having it available to them is relevant because they don't have it on anyway.
Yeah. Rumours that teams are going to be bringing cyclocross bikes to next year's Giro aren't confirmed, but it seems likely that they may.
Say that.
Caley, thanks very much for joining us. And for more of Caley's insights, remember to head over to velonews.com.